We'll do that. Okay. I'm very sorry, everybody. I don't know what happened. So the minute you change anything, everything goes awry. So anyway, what we were going to talk about this morning was using Google Slides for creating images. And we thought this that it would be really fun for David to do something, because it was his idea that we do this topic. It was his idea last week, so we thought it would be really fun to give him an opportunity to work with Bill, and we'll be sharing everything so that everybody else can see and hear what the process. And I have to say that the process is pretty darn easy. Bill and I created a new little logo for a new website that I'm developing through WA, and it just worked really, really well. So no need to be running out and buying other software or trying to figure out how to use Photoshop, which is I'm just awful at, but I seem to be able to understand how to do it in slides. So I'm thinking if it's easy for me, it might be easy for you folks as well. So anybody have any comments about trying to create images in various programs? Anything come up for anybody there?
I can just share some thoughts about an advertisement I saw a few months ago. It's an advertisement for a car, and the car has seats which can be laid flat, and you can to make room for you to take more stuff. In the previous version of the same car, apparently you were required to remove the seats out of the car and put it somewhere. Mm-hmm. And so this ad was talking about you can do that now. And then the person says, now then what do we do with the old chairs that we removed? So what do you do with the Photoshop and all those software that people already have? And they have invested a lot of their
hard-earned cash.
Yeah, not just the cash. It's that they have invested their mindset. They have imbibed knowledge, and the brain cells are occupied by that knowledge. Mm-hmm. What do you do with that? That's the big problem. So,
well, for me, I use Inkscape, I use Photoshop, and I use GIMP, and I use them a lot, especially with photos. I do have HD capabilities with another program. I forget what the name of that is. Photomatic Pro, and those are all paid for software. But there's lots of times that I'm doing something that I've like the photo I put my logo on it and so forth and so on. But I'll do that in GIMP and in Photoshop because that's the easiest place to do that kind of work. When I'm doing like a featured image for, and I'm doing a lot of just different stuff, different styles, and like the picture I showed earlier, I use another, it's basically a free program, and it gives me templates, and I just bring up the template that I like and drop in the information, drop in the photos, and it comes out. Now, the templates are sometimes restrictive
Mhm.
because you don't always get what you want. So I'm looking for something that's easy to use, that I can, access very quickly and do the same thing and spend 10 minutes and have it done. Whereas if you're in Photoshop and in GIMP, these things become laborious, if you
Yes.
know what I mean. They're not easily done. This kind of project is not easily done.
Mhm.
So I would just, there's another program that's on the internet that Jay uses to do this work too.
Oh,
Where there's a lot
Canva.
of templates, but
There's Canva.
yeah, Canva.
Mhm.
And I don't know. I'm always interested in new programs and trying them out and seeing if I can use them. And usually they find a spot in what I'm doing. So
Well,
if they don't, then they never get used again.
right,
And it's a free version, so I don't have to pay for it. So
right,
I'd
right.
like to learn how to do it, and then I don't have to worry about buying software for doing it.
Well, and I mean, spoken from a do-it-yourselfer's solopreneur perspective, and this is my perspective. I want something that will take almost no time to do, so that I don't have to go in and go through yet another learning curve. So that's the advantage to using something that you already use and you already know how to navigate around. So to me, that's the real advantage of using, because I use all of the Google products anyway. So I mean, to be able to go in and do something fairly complex and quickly. For example, I mean, for my YouTube thumbnail, that's all I use is the slide. I go in and change the title on it, save it as a JPEG, done.
Do
So
you play with the size of it at all?
I have it I have a slide that is created at the right size.
Okay.
So I just go back in and just change the title and save it again, and away we go. It's really, really simple and efficient.
Yeah, I think something to remember with this type of software is you give up a little bit of convenience, a little bit of time for free. I mean, that's always going to be the case.
Mm-hmm.
And are you going to find a free tool that can do everything you want? Probably not. I mean, I do a lot of stuff in slides, but if I want to punch a hole in something to make it transparent, I throw it into another free piece of software called Pixlr. And in 2 seconds, I can punch a hole in it, bring it back into my slides and carry on, right? So there's other ones. If you want to create transparencies and take backgrounds out, there's another one called Clipping Magic, I believe it is. And when you learn to manipulate that, you can go in and take people out, or you can take an animal out of the forest, or whatever you can.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of figuring out what you want to do and what you want the software to do. And there is free stuff out there to do. I mean, the more stuff you use, you'll find the more it's the same with its own little idiosyncrasies. But that's kind of my experience. The more stuff you use, you'll find that the more different, the more the same.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I started in many years ago, 30 years ago, in AutoCAD and MicroCAD-M, and those were fairly complex programs that you had to remember. They're on the power of Photoshop, having to remember all of the commands and everything. And so when you come to these easier softwares, they come to me fairly quickly.
So Alana, in your work, do you use any create anything to create images? Because I know you do websites for people, etc.
Yeah, I use Canva. That's been the easiest and fastest thing for me to use. I know that Google has that feature, but I've actually never really used it. So
Mm.
Canvas seems to work well for me, and I'm interested to see how other people use it because, yeah, I've just never really explored it at all.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, and my experience with Canva and those types of programs is they are great. But as David mentioned earlier, they can be restrictive. If you want to do something specific, sometimes it's hard to find that. Whereas now, again, it's partly because I have a lot of experience with Google Slides. I've gone and I've learned ways to manipulate things to make it do what I want it to do, where the average user is not going to spend that time on it. They're going to try it. Oh, it doesn't do that.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you've walked me through doing a few things using slides, and I mean, to me, just because I use slides, it's not a big learning curve. It's just so. How about you, Javita? Do you? I know on your website you have lots of images. How do you create your own, or how do you go? You're muted.
Sorry. Yeah, I created my own images using Canva.
Mm-hmm.
I find it most convenient, and I use LunaPic. LunaPic is another tool that is great, really great. You can make images transparent in just a click.
Ah, right on.
Means just the background, not the image background.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Well, I have used Canva as well, and sometimes even that's too complicated for me. So I seem to have a mind block on managing images. I don't know.
And try and find curved text.
Yes.
In Canva.
Yeah.
Right.
But nothing is perfect, so.
No.
Right. That's like Inkscape. You could use that to do curved text and everything.
Yeah.
But it's difficult when you're using an image. It doesn't like images. It likes solid colors or fade or gradients or stuff like that. But when you put a regular picture in, it has a tendency to not, unless you save it as an image, but you can't put it in as a vector, and it
right.
doesn't come out very well.
Maybe try going the other way with that, though, is creating your text in Inkscape, saving it in the proper ratio, and then lay that over the picture as opposed to trying.
Yeah, but the advantage of Inkscape or any of those vector graphic packages is that you create an image of any size, you increase the size, it still retains the detail.
Right.
Right.
Whereas a graphic image you create, if you try to blow it up, it loses all its details, and
even if you shrink it down. If you go a little ways, it's not bad. But if you go and you shrink it down, let's say you've got a 1080 by 720 image, and you shrink it down to 150 by whatever the ratio would be.
Everything will bleed into each other.
Yeah. And it pixelates to you can't. It doesn't even. It's not recognizable.
And one of the nice things about Google Slides is that you can create everything at exactly the size you want it. When I create something for OBS, my base canvas is 1920 by 1080. So I create everything in 19, and then it gets scaled down to 1280 when it gets broadcast out. So that's good. But you have to start with high quality stuff in order to be able to blow it up to in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
And that's what happens a lot of times. People try and for people that do live stream shows, they try and go and grab somebody's profile image and then bring that into something. And here it is 97 by 97. And when you blow it up a little bit, all of a sudden.
Yeah. But I think we have diverted from the topic for today.
Yes, we have. I'm sorry. I'm texting to Heidi, who's out there trying to see.
I think it kind of all depends on what features you need in your imaging.
Yeah.
Because if you're making, I mean, I like using Photoshop. When I got my new laptop, I lost my license to my Photoshop. So, yeah, I mean, I would actually prefer to use it. I think it's more flexible and you can do more things with it. But for someone who just needs a quick and dirty picture, something really fast, then Canva or Google Docs or images or whatever is the way to go. It depends on how much sophistication you need.
Yeah.
And how much time you have to do.
And how much time you have, because when I used to do work in Photoshop, I mean, I could spend days. I could spend days on an image and still not be happy with it. So,
And people, yeah, you have to weigh that ROI, return on investment, right? I mean, exactly. I have a couple of slideshows where I've taken stills and created videos out of them. But each slide has like 180 transitions, and then there's like 10 slides. So that's like 2,000 transitions. It took me a week to make basically a 15-second video. So who is going to pay for your time for that? I mean, yes, you could do that in slides. Now I create the stuff in slides and I throw it in Camtasia, which is paid for, and in a fraction of the time create it all, right? Mm-hmm. So it's,
if somebody's paying you to create images, then you do have to weigh up how much time you're spending on it. And sometimes if I'm spending a lot of time on an image, I won't charge for that time because I think it's unfair. It's just because I want it a certain way doesn't mean the client does. And so,
Well, and that's one of the first things we learn is that, I mean, the client is right. I mean, you may come up with this great concept and they go in and strip everything out. Like, I like it like that. Perfect. Right.
Then the whole pixelated thing comes into play too, right? Because you take an image and then you try to blow it up, and depending on how you blow that up it's going to be, like I tried to blow something up in Paint and it came out like ridiculous. But if I tried to blow it up in Photoshop, or I have this other thing I'm using now, I can't remember the name of it. It's like Photoshop. It's not GIMP. It's called something else.
PicMonkey, maybe? PicMonkey?
It's not PicMonkey. I'll have to look at it. It's on my
But all of those things.
But anyway, the thing is,
weaknesses, right? So it's
called Photo Pros or Photo Pose Pro 3 or something like that. It's free. But it's supposed to be just like Photoshop, and I get a lot more bang for my buck on that.
Mm-hmm. So, well, why don't we get back to Google Slides and?
Sorry. I thought we were talking about imaging in general. Sorry.
No, we are. So I just want to. I didn't give anybody a chance to introduce themselves, but because the whole thing kind of fell apart this morning. So we are recording this so that later the technique I can post the recording of the technique. So it will be the recording that ends up on YouTube will be very different. So I see Heidi.
Heidi, can you turn around if it is possible at all, or because I see
I go to
right behind you.
I have to do something else, something physical, and I don't want you to watch me. So I will listen to you.
Yeah.
And by the way, Bill, I succeeded another time with the old settings to the.
Very good.
Settings.
I'm glad to hear that.
So I try again several times, and so it's tricky. I don't know what happened today with you. I saw that was always running 40 minutes, the trailer, and then you
Yeah, it's all right, Heidi. We won't go into an explanation of what happened, but we're very
maybe
much.
you should,
I'm very much aware of why it happens. So
okay, maybe you should take the video off because people come in and then they get sort of.
Yeah, I did.
You know,
I turned it all off. It's all off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
all right. So we are just concentrating on showing everybody how to use a slide to create a really neat image. So David has volunteered to be he has something that he would like to create. I was going to call him a guinea pig, but I didn't know if he'd like that very much. So
Sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me.
Yeah,
the only thing I ask is just don't call me late for dinner.
Right. So David and Bill are set up to share screen. So Bill, if you want to take it away, I know you're gonna have some questions to ask David, and David is going to have the answers for you. So.
Yep. Okay, you should be able to see our blank slide right now.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so starting off, I think the first requirement you had, David, is that you wanted it to be a specific size.
Yes, correct.
Okay, so let's just show you how we're going to do that. Up here in the file, in the upper left hand, and I'm not sure if people can see my exploding cursor or not.
Yes, we can.
But if I click on File, down here near the bottom, it has Page Setup.
Okay.
Click on Page Setup. We're going to go into Custom. And in slides, one of the idiosyncrasies is you have to select inches, centimeters, points, or pixels first. So we want it in pixels. And what size did you want?
Well, I want it to be in proportion of 300 wide by 150 tall.
High? Yeah.
300 by 150?
Yes.
300. Oh, 300, sorry. 300 by 150, which is obviously 2 to 1. But is that for something specific? That's the size they call for?
That's the size they call for, and that's the size that the featured image can be. I can go square or I can go 2 to 1, and
Understood.
I like the 2 to 1 better.
Okay, so there's our 2 to 1 size right now, and it'll be at, when you download this, it'll be 300 to 150 pixels.
Okay.
First thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on these two title things and get rid of them. I don't know what happened there.
Or you can choose the slide and just choose the one that's got nothing in it.
Okay, so where do you want to start? Do you have a background image you want to use, or?
Well, what I would like to do is just similar to what Loanne did. I'd like to put, except for I want to put the writing on the left-hand side and the picture on the right-hand side.
Okay.
So.
Do you have a color for the image?
I have a picture for the image.
Okay. Then what you can do is up here where the little image symbol is.
Okay.
Why don't you just click on that, find the image on your computer, and upload it into our slide.
Okay.
And this kind of goes with last week and the weeks before show of how we can actually collaborate together. We both have the same slide open, and we'll work on it in real time. And I guess we could have shared it to everybody maybe. But.
Okay.
And then just click to upload. Okay. And there it is on the slide.
And like I said, I would rather that be over on the right-hand side.
Okay. And so what you can do is just click on that image. And if you put your cursor in the center of it, yeah, there you go. You've got it figured out.
So tell everybody how you did that.
Yeah, and here I'll show you with my, if I go onto the image and I click on it, I can just drag it anywhere I want.
Oh,
And if you do something by mistake, just go up here to undo, and it'll go right back to where it was. Now, for resizing, David, when you click on it, you know how to resize it, right? But
correct. Now, does Control Shift work with that? Where if you hold Control, it stays in the same proportion. If you hold Control Shift, it stays in the same position and shrinks down or expands. Understand what I'm asking?
I kind of understand what you're saying, but no, typically what we do in here is just grab, if you want to keep it in proportion, grab one of the corner.
Okay.
Right? So I'm going to grab in the corner and just bring it in proportionately.
Okay.
And the proportion hasn't changed, just the size.
Yeah.
Now, Control Shift, I'm not sure if that works because this works for me.
Okay. Well, it doesn't change. If you can distort the picture by grabbing it in the middle, whatever way you want it to go.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we can make it, you can see now it looks like a fryer rather than a pot, right?
Yeah.
And if we undo it, there, we'll just reinstate it. So do you want that bigger or smaller, or?
I like that size right there, just centered.
Okay. Here's one of the neat things in slides is if you grab, left click on the image, when you move it down there, I've got a centering line.
yeah.
You can see the red line.
Yeah.
And so that should be a dead center of the slide. Now, up and down. Okay. And is your background going to stay white, or are you going to put a color on the website, or?
Let me get you a color number.
Okay.
Aha.
And while David's getting the color number, I'm going to show you what you do is if you click off the slide, you can go up here to the top where background is. You click on it, it's going to open the menu. If you go to color, it'll allow you to pick from basic colors, or you can go to the bottom here, click on custom.
Custom.
Or that transparent. You can choose transparent.
Transparent is absence of color.
Yeah. So I mean that for me that was a really real eye opener. Okay, so if I just go in there, create a slide, hit transparent, then then you can add things on over it if you know, depending on what it is you're doing.
Okay, I've got a color number.
Okay.
Now the color you've got selected there, is that part of the slide? Where do I don't see that on my screen.
If you give me the number, I'll type it in.
Yeah, but David doesn't see where you found that.
Okay, let's type it in and I'll go back and show you where we found it.
Okay, you ready?
Yep.
1474A4.
1474A4. It's a type of blue.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to click it. Done. That should be the blue.
Okay.
Okay. Now the way I did that is I went up here to background.
Okay.
Now there's two ways you can do this. You can do it with the background, or you can actually just go and put a shape in there.
And make it the same full size.
Well, for example, here I could go and pick a square shape.
Oh.
And I could fit it in here. I'm not going to fit it exactly right now, but but see, I could size that in there.
Now, are you able to move that backwards?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
So here, let's get it in there first. And it seems to be taking a little bit of time. There we go.
So that's just we're showing that there are two ways to do this.
Yep. Now, if you want to send that back a layer, you'll go up to Arrange here at the top, click on Arrange, click on Order at the top, and here you have the choice to either send it backwards, which is one layer, or send it right to the back. So we'll just send it backwards one layer.
That way we see the picture again.
Now you see the picture, that's right. Now the trouble with your image is that, well here, let me get rid of that layer.
So I'm thinking whoever isn't speaking, maybe if everybody is put themselves on mute, we can hear some sounds in the background.
Okay, so we have a color. We have now obviously the problem with your image that's not ideal is that it has a white background.
Right.
So what I typically do, and I don't know how much time we have, Lolan, but I can open up Pixlr and
yeah, go ahead.
Well, actually, I can't because I don't have the image. David has it. Do you use Pixlr, David?
No, I've not used that.
Okay. Well, anyway, Pixlr, if we upload it into Pixlr.
What was the transparent option Lolan was talking about earlier? I'm sorry?
That was for the background.
Oh, transparent.
That's for a background. Yeah, you can't make something that's not transparent. So anyway, let's continue on with the text and if you were able to email me that image, then I could open Pixlr and do it. But let's carry on with your text for now.
So what does the text need to be, David?
Phillips.
Okay, let me ask you this. Do you have a font?
No, I don't have a particular font right at the moment. I've been using Arial.
Okay.
We could do something, get some input from somebody and give me a better font.
Okay, well, there's two ways to add text in slides now. Used to be you just clicked on the text box and it gave you a generic box, and if you type something into it, you could go up to the top and you could change the font and the colors and that type of thing. What I like to use now for my text is in Insert. You can go down and you can actually insert word art now. So oh, it should probably say what it says at the top, right?
And then I want review added at the end.
Phillips. 2 L's in Phillips, right?
I believe it's only one.
Oh, really?
9641. Air.
Yeah, it's only one.
And what was it, demo or?
Reviews.
Oh, review.
Review. I'm sorry, not plural, just.
Review. Get rid of one of the L's in Phillips.
Okay.
And now that's going to come up full screen, or it's going to come up in the middle of the screen. Now with word art, you have the choice to go up and select the fill color in the center of the letters, the line color, and the weight of that line around the outside.
So it's one right now, correct?
It's actually white in the middle with gray on the outside, and it's in Arial.
So, Bill, show them how to change the size of the font.
Well, in word art, you don't actually change the size of the font. You actually change the
exactly.
Kind of reacts like an image. So yeah, but you can adjust it for height or for length.
It just does it. I mean, it just makes it so simple to do it that way.
You can center it using the red line again. But just to give you an idea, if of some other fonts. For example, on titles, I kind of like Cambria. So then we could go in, and I don't know what your text color was going to be. Was it going to be black or?
I like the white background. I'd like to change the gray to something else. That's going to show. It's going to be between maybe a green. Let's see what a green would look like. Okay,
so that's under line color. We can go in. There's, I don't know, can you see those greens? Maybe we just start in the middle, maybe, or?
Right. Let's just see what we get. We change the box green.
Something that. There we go. Now we go to the line. Your green.
Let's try a darker one. One more shade, I think, will do it. Okay. I like the white in the middle, so just need to expand it a little bit so that we can get more white. There we go.
I just bolded it there.
Yeah, I see that. Go over to where Philip's on your left and pull it closer to the border.
Yeah, so all I do is grab it and slide it. Now, I don't have to slide it freehand. What I can do is I can use my left arrow.
Right.
And if I use shift and left, it'll move it in smaller increments. There we go. Anyway, a bit more left.
Yeah.
How's that look?
That looks good.
Okay.
And what did my other one say?
I'm wondering, and on this one with these fonts, I would experiment a little bit with the line, just because the line looks a little bit heavy with this font.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. It's
now something that would help it is if you could spread these words over two lines.
Yes, we can. As a matter of fact, that's what I was going to suggest.
Okay, so if I double click on it, where would we break it?
Air fryer reviews.
There. Now when we pull this out, you might get a little bit more of what you were looking for.
Yeah. That looks a lot better. And
okay, what else?
Then another text box smaller, and I put the what did I put on that? I had the website.
All right.
At the very bottom.
Okay, so I'm just going up to the top. I'm going to click on text box. Down here, I'm just going to put one in. Any size. And what do you want it to say again?
HTTPS://
Okay, HTTPS:// let me guess, www.
airfryersforhomeuse.com.
Air fryers, oh my goodness, for home use.com. Okay, obviously we're going to have to blow this up a lot.
Well, no, we need to shrink the text down. We don't want that the same size as the other text. We just want that to be smaller.
Yeah, I got it. I just so if we go up to the top here, this is where you'll find your font sizes.
Okay.
So we're at 14. We can go to 12.
Let's go down. Let's go to the 8. See what it looks like. Yeah, that'll do.
Okay.
And
Now it's outside of the
probably
text.
want it white.
Okay. Now, before I do that, I'm just going to show people at the top here. This is where you get it aligned back into the box. So that's going to center it in the box. Over here is going to center it horizontally. Now we can make this a little bit smaller. To change the text color, we just have to click on the box, highlight the text. Up here where the A is, go in there and select white. And then we could actually, if we make this, what I like to do is I make it as small as I can without it going to a second line.
There.
And now we can center it under that text, whatever height you want.
Okay. Now, here's an idea.
Mm-hmm.
If taking the example of what we had before, but using squares as opposed to circles, put some different squares fading out to the blue, from white to blue, like 3.
Sure. So I'm going to go up here to the top to the shape symbol. I'm going to click on shape. You want circles, you said?
No, square.
Squares? Okay.
I want the same rectangle as what the white outline or the white of the box. I want a little bit larger and be.
I got what you're saying. From behind the picture?
Yeah, behind the picture.
Okay.
And then we want another one slightly larger that's going to get a different color blue and a slightly larger, and that will help us with our white background.
Okay, so why don't I start? I've selected a box, so I'm going to basically trace it over your picture.
Okay.
And what color do you want them to be?
Well, I want the first one to be a slightly bluish, more white than blue, but starting to change into the color blue on this roughly the same tint as what the background is.
Something like that?
Yeah.
Okay, and that's going to be your large one, right?
That's going to be the smallest one. That's going to be just a little bit larger than the picture itself.
Okay. And then you want one more on top of that, right?
Yeah, one more on top of that. That's going to go
so
closer to the other blue.
Sure. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to duplicate this one that I've already made. And the way I do that is I'm just going to hit Control D. Now I have 2. Okay, actually I have 3 because I have your picture, and I'm just going to move them around a little bit. Can we move this picture down a bit, center it?
Yeah.
Okay, fine, center. That's pretty close. So now you want this one to be just a little bit bigger. So I'm just going to bring it up proportionately. Center it over top of that image. Then I'll go to Arrange, Order, and I'll send it back one layer. Now we can adjust the size of that.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Now I can't see the other side.
Oh, I see. This is so that you can put a frame around it.
Yeah, it's essentially a frame. It's doing essentially the same thing as the other one was, except for the other one was a circle.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got it. Okay.
And you're Now, the only problem with that is you're probably not going to want that line. So we're going to go up here to line, go into line and make the line transparent.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, and the one that's going to be a bit bigger, what size do you, or what color would you like that? Just a darker blue, or?
I want a darker blue, yeah.
Okay, so let's go 2 shades. How does that look next to it?
That looks good. I think
Okay.
it'll look
I'm just going to place it approximately for now. And then we'll have to send this one back twice. No, it's not going back for some. Oh, I know why. Now it's behind the white picture. Back once more. Now it's behind the blue picture. Oh, undo. You got to be careful what you click on, obviously.
Yeah.
Here, I should be able to center that right over the other one. Here. Well, I don't know if you want that black line or not.
I prefer not. I mean, it's easy
That's
to remove.
no worries. Then we just click on it. We go up here to line, click on it, make it transparent, and it's gone.
Yeah. I think that looks good. I mean, anybody got any other ideas or suggestions?
Well, I think it would look better, you know, if the picture had was a transparency. But since we can't do anything about that,
Right at the moment, no.
yeah.
Well, and I think David's found a good solution to that. I mean,
Yeah.
use it, incorporate it, and bring the colors back into the dark blue. I mean, we could almost, if you made the image a little bit smaller, you could almost make it another shade between the outside ring and the actual background.
Yeah.
But you might start getting that infinity screen look, which you don't really want either, right?
Yeah. Well, the one that I used before, it had 1, 2, 3, 4 circles
Oh, okay.
around it, and what they did is they made it more and more transparent till it faded away.
Yeah.
So they made it the same color as the
background.
No, actually the same color as it's an aqua colored fryer, and somehow it picked up that color. But I think that looks okay. I mean, it's just going on a blog post. It's not a, you know, and it will do fine.
No, it's looking great, David.
It needs to move up. It's
everything seems to need to move up, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll show you how to do that. I mean, if you want to move this whole group of stuff, I mean, obviously there's 1, 2, 3 things here. So if you click on the inside one first, then hold the shift key, click on the second one and the third one, or anything else that you want to move, then you can let go of the shift and drag all 3 there. That's centered. All 3 should be centered. And if you want to pull it off the border a little bit, just a left click will do that, or a right click now that I went too far.
I can't see because all my pictures of everybody are over the border.
Oh, I see. You can just click on that and shut it off. The video's at the top. Just click on the little minus at the top. Or drag them right out of your way.
Well, I thought I could drag them out of my way, and I can't.
If you hold the black bar at the top, you can click and drag it across.
Yeah.
There we go.
And then it looks like the main text looks like it needs to come up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's centered. So it needs to come up and maybe go a little.
Reason it looks like it needs to come up is because we've got, what you should do is click on both the text, and then center it, and it'll center it up.
Yeah. And another little trick is sometimes when you put two lines in here, like the title here, make the two lines separately, so you don't have that guaranteed space in the middle. You can adjust that.
You can adjust it. Yeah.
And here, maybe we can actually just do that. Well, I can't easily, but yeah. Are you happy with the space between the white and the title? Like between this website, or do you want to space that out a bit?
No, I'm happy with that.
Okay.
The only thing I would do is group both of those together and then center it.
There you go.
That looks better. Yeah.
Is there a way to group, like if you were to group all three of those pictures so that if you wanted to move it again, you'd only have to click on it once instead of 3 times? Can you group them?
Yep. Actually, the first two lines are already one group. Like they're one entity. They're not a group. So if I click on the first one, hold shift, click on the second one. If I go up to format here at the top, I'm sorry, arrange. Go to arrange at the top.
Right.
I can group all of that text. So now the next time I click on it, it's all highlighted.
Oh.
So I move the whole thing up or the whole thing back. Or the whole thing right.
That's a handy little feature.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah. Especially for the picture, because it has a picture and 2 frames around it. So if you grouped that, then you'd only have to click it once to move it around.
Absolutely. And the other thing with that is if you get all 3, oh, hang on, give me 1 second. My finger is having a hard time distinguishing between Control and Shift. Also grouping them together like that, you can grab the outside corner.
Yeah. Make it bigger.
And change everything at one time as well, right?
Proportionately, yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So undo, put it back. And then just experiment with stuff once you got it, just play it a little bit, like in the line. I know green is the color you want. I mean, sometimes black, just play with different. I mean, you've got site colors and.
Well, on this one, no, I'm pulling Philips colors off of it and whatnot, so that it matches their website. I have site colors, but by the time I dug them out and got everything going, I could have done that. I didn't even think about it. I've got them saved in a Word document, so I know what my colors are and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
But
and then to take this another step further, I mean, for somebody who's doing this type of thing all the time, I mean, you take that picture in the center and get rid of that, you've got a template.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I make the pictures all the same size. Okay?
Right.
The picture that I've got there is the same size as the picture that's on the first one.
Yeah.
So it would just automatically all fit right in.
Sure. Yeah.
Proportionally.
So has anybody got any questions or want to add anything to this? Or
so, Bill, in terms of the title, you and I worked on putting some shadow and so forth, and I mean, maybe it's not required here, but it would be interesting for people to see how to do that.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go back in and ungroup them first of all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we click on the Philips. If we go up here to the top to format options, it'll give you several things from size and position to drop shadow. You can use reflection if that's appropriate. So I'm going to click on the drop shadow. It's already put a bit of a drop shadow in there. just by default. And now if I click present so everybody can see that, it just kind of adds, it gives it a little bit more depth.
Yeah. Makes the stuff pop out.
Yeah, you don't want to go
3D.
crazy with that kind of stuff, but sometimes it just makes it pop that little bit extra. What else?
So if you're to add this to a website, would you add that as an image? Because that's a slide. So do you save it as a JPEG, or how do you do that?
That's the next step.
By going up here to File, we're going to go down here to Download As, and it will give you the option to download as a PDF, plain text, JPEG, PNG.
And vector, look at that.
And scalable vector graphics. But to download as a scalable vector graphic, you have to start with scalable vector graphic. It won't take an image and
convert it.
Yeah, you have to start with that stuff.
Mm-hmm. But the PNG works just fine. And the JPEG does too.
I usually save this in PNG because it's got text and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Usually my rule is if the picture is more than 50 or 60% of the thing, then I'll save it as a JPEG. Otherwise, I save it as a PNG.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and something like this that's not really an image, like an image of the sky or an image of the trees where it's got all of that detail and stuff. I mean, downloading it as a PNG, the file is probably going to be approximately twice the size that it is as a JPEG. However, that twice the size is still so minimal that you might as well just use the better quality. And when I create stuff and I use multiple assets to create a final picture, I put everything in PNG, the top quality. And then when I download my final thing to go on a website, that I might download as a JPEG, depending on the size.
Mm.
Because it's not just how the image displays, but it's also how the image takes up space and time on your website, right?
Right. Absolutely.
I run it through a compressor and compress them down.
Sure.
To one.
So anyway, yeah, to download it, you're simply going to click on Download As, select. Now, if you do create transparencies, it's important to know that transparencies have to be PNG.
Yeah.
And then once you select that in Google Slides, it will it'll allow you to save it on your local computer, wherever you want to.
Yeah. How easy is that, guys? How easy is that?
It's very easy.
And maybe while we're in here and I'm sharing, I'd just like to take this title and I'm going to move it up. I'm going to hit Control D again and make 2 of it. And then what I'm going to do is I just want to double click on it in WordArt, and I'll take the top row out of 1. And we'll take
the bottom row out of the other one.
Take the bottom row out of the other one. Delete, backspace, enter. And now we have both of those so that we don't have to have that big gap that we had before. You could actually center it if you want. Again, that's all personal choice, but to me that
looks way better. Yeah.
It looks a little, excuse the expression, but a little tighter. And I'm just trying to center it in between the two things. And then go back. And now it is 3 separate.
Yeah.
Now it is 3 separate components, so you would have to click on 3 things.
Just as a question, can you not fill the image with a different color? I see a bucket there. It used, I saw it when
A bucket?
Yeah, filling bucket.
I don't think so. I'd be happy if you would find one.
It was there. Click on the image.
On the image, okay.
Yeah.
I think you click on the text and that's the fill bucket I think he's talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, at the top. Yeah, no, that's the...
Yeah, so you have to click on the text and fill bucket.
Yeah, that's the fill for the text. If I go in and change that to...
It's the...
to say red.
Not for the image.
No, it's not for the image. It's strictly for the text that highlighted at the time.
I think for the fill, for the picture, there are a couple of editing things.
Well, you can recolor, but I think that's just filters. Yeah, that's just filters. I don't know of any way, Vivek, of doing that. I do that in Pixlr, but but I will look for it because I would love to be able to use that.
Yeah, because then you wouldn't have to go anywhere else. You could just do it all in one place.
Yeah.
Right on. So
if the white is something that really drives you crazy, like to me, that white, it would probably drive me crazy.
Yeah.
But that's just me. I mean, a quick upload to Pixlr, you click on the wand tool, it highlights all of that, you hit clear, and you've got a transparency that would just sit right on the blue.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would.
And if we were really, well, it's kind of hard because they have a symbol in the lower right-hand corner, but we could try cropping that image and getting it tighter, but because it's not square, you're always going to have that white. It's almost better to make it deliberate than try and hide it. But it matches well. Yeah,
but so I mean that was all those little pieces are just so easy to do and manage quickly. And the big trick, the trick I learned was wherever you're putting things on your website is to find out exactly what size it needs to be, and then start with the slide that's exactly that size, and away you go. So any other questions from anyone? Because I see we are 10 past the hour.
Okay, so well. You can download. You can edit that or download it any way you like, David.
Yeah, right. I see. We have Diana has joined us. Diana, in case you're wondering, we had a real goof up this morning, so nothing is the same as it usually is. Maybe she's anyway. So if there are any other questions, or if there are not any other questions, I will just finish off by reminding everyone that it's important to do what you love with passion. And it seems as though right now I can hit the stop recording button in Zoom. And so then